Fairchild Channel F, 1976. The Fairchild Channel F doesn't get the attention it deserves, but it was a trailblazer. It was the first console to use interchangeable cartridges, a feature that later became the foundation of the video game industry. Before this, systems like the Magnavox Odyssey had games built directly into the hardware, meaning you couldn't expand the library. The Channel F changed everything, introducing the idea of swapping games like Video Blackjack or Space War. Its controller was also unusual, with a joystick that could move in multiple directions and twist like a paddle. Despite being innovative, it launched just before Atari hit the market with the 2600, which offered a bigger library and stronger marketing. The Channel F ended up selling under 400,000 units and faded into history, even though it paved the way for modern gaming. Magnavox Odyssey 2, 1978. Even though it was the successor to the very first home console ever created, the majority of people are unaware that the Odyssey 2 even existed. A built-in keyboard, which was one of the features that set it apart from other products. In order to convince parents that it was both enjoyable and beneficial, children may play games that involve math or spelling. Additionally, it featured a peculiar add-on known as the voice module, which enabled select games to have voiceovers that were robotic. For the time being, listening to your game speak was just incredible. Nevertheless, despite the fact that it had sold more than 1 million units, the Odyssey 2 was unable to compete with the overwhelming domination of Atari's computer. Aside from Brazil and certain regions of Europe, where it enjoyed a certain level of success, the Odyssey 2 is seldom ever mentioned in modern times. Vectrex, 1982. The Vectrex was unlike any other console of its era because it came with its own built-in screen. Instead of connecting to a TV, it featured a vector graphics display that made games look like glowing neon wireframes. It delivered a futuristic aesthetic that no other console could replicate at the time. It even had optional 3D goggles, long before VR and 3D gaming were mainstream. Titles like Mindstorm and Scramble showed off what it could do, but the timing was terrible. The North American video game crash of 1983 killed its momentum, and fewer than 500,000 units were sold. Today, it's a cult favorite among collectors because of its uniqueness. Atari Jaguar, 1993. The Atari Jaguar was hyped as the first 64-bit console, with marketing slogans boasting, "Do the math," to show how much more powerful it was compared to the 16-bit Sega Genesis and Super Nintendo. In reality, the system had a confusing multi-chip setup that developers struggled to program for. Its bulky controller with a number pad in the middle didn't help either, despite some memorable titles like Alien vs. Predator and Tempest 2000, the Jaguar's library was thin and it quickly lost ground to the PlayStation and Sega Saturn. Only around 250,000 units were sold. Instead of reviving Atari's legacy, it became the company's last attempt at a major console. FM Towns Marty, 1993. The FM Towns Marty is almost mythical to Western gamers. Released only in Japan, it holds the title of the world's first 32-bit home console. Built on the architecture of Fujitsu's FM Towns personal computer, it could run a mix of console games and computer software. It supported CD-ROMs, and boasted superior audio-visual capabilities compared to competitors. But its price tag was steep, and it never left the Japanese market. Games like Splatterhouse and Afterburner 2 made it appealing, but it was overshadowed by Sega and Sony. For collectors today, the FM Towns Marty is one of the rarest treasures in gaming history. Bandai Playdaya, 1994. The Bandai Playdaya was aimed directly at kids and anime fans. Instead of traditional video games, it leaned heavily on interactive anime titles, including popular series like Dragon Ball Z and Sailor Moon. The console used CD-ROMs, but gameplay was extremely limited, often just choosing different paths or pressing a button at the right moment. It was more like a DVD player with branching storylines than a true game console. With only about 35 games released, it never stood a chance in the mid-90s gaming landscape. Still, it's remembered as an odd experiment in targeting niche audiences. Apple Pippin, 1996. Apple may be a tech giant today, but back in the 90s, it stumbled into the console market with the Apple Pippin. Created in partnership with Bandai, it was designed as a multimedia machine that could play games, browse the web, and run software. Unfortunately, it was priced at nearly $600, which was far higher than the PlayStation or Nintendo 64. Its game library was weak, with few exclusives worth owning, and it sold fewer than 50,000 units worldwide. Apple quickly abandoned the idea, and the Pippin became a reminder that even the biggest tech companies can flop in gaming. Casio Loopy, 1995. One of the strangest consoles ever made, the Casio Loopy was marketed specifically toward girls. Its biggest feature was a built-in sticker printer that let players print out images and characters from their games to decorate notebooks or walls. While fun and unique, the Loopy had a tiny game library and limited appeal. Released only in Japan, it quickly disappeared from the market. Today, it's a fascinating piece of gaming history because it represents one of the few times a console was designed with such a narrowly targeted demographic. Nokia N-Gage, 2003. The Nokia N-Gage was an ambitious attempt to merge cell phones with handheld gaming, years before smartphones became mainstream. It ran popular franchises like Tomb Raider, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, and Sonic the Hedgehog. But its design was awkward. To make a phone call, users had to hold the side of the device to their face, earning it the nickname Taco Phone. Swapping games was also clunky since you had to remove the battery. Despite these flaws, the N-Gage has a cult following today as one of the earliest attempts at mobile gaming. It sold around 3 million units but fell far short of Nokia's expectations. Gizmondo, 2004. The Gizmondo is infamous not just for its failure but for the scandal surrounding it. Launched by Tiger Telematics, it promised advanced features like GPS, multimedia playback, and even augmented reality, but its high price and lack of strong games made it unappealing. Only about 25,000 units were sold, and the company collapsed amid financial mismanagement and ties to organized crime involving some executives. The Gizmondo is often ranked as one of the worst consoles ever made, but its bizarre backstory makes it unforgettable. From cartridge pioneers like the Fairchild Channel F to bizarre experiments like the Casio Loopy, these obscure consoles show just how experimental the gaming industry has been. Some pushed technology forward, others were ahead of their time, and many simply failed to find their audience. Together, they remind us that behind every successful PlayStation or Nintendo, dozens of forgotten machines paved the way. If you enjoyed exploring gaming's hidden history, don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and hit the bell so you'll never miss more stories about the weird side of tech and gaming. And let us know in the comments which of these obscure consoles surprised you the most.